Millionaire's Heartbreak. Little girl with lost daughter's ring haunts him at midnight. The clock barely struck midnight when Samuel Grant first heard her voice. Soft, delicate, like the rustle of leaves in an eerie wind. His sprawling mansion stood silent, but she echoed through its grand halls, a whisper that rattled the silence. "Daddy?" It hit him like an unexpected punch to the gut. He hadn't heard that in years since his daughter, Emma, had vanished without a trace, leaving only her beloved ring behind, a shimmering token of innocence that haunted him every day. That night felt suffocating. Shadows loomed bigger than life, creeping along the walls, taunting him with memories. The air was thick, charged with a tension he couldn't shake. Samuel's heart pounded. He scrambled through the expansive rooms, each more empty and ghost-like than the last. "Is this a dream?" he murmured, but the chilling reply echoed. A giggle broke the stillness, sending shivers skirting down his spine. Was it real? Or had sorrow warped his mind? Staring into the darkness, his chest tightened. He could almost see her, the way her dark curls bounced as she ran, the sparkle in her eyes when she wore that ring. Then, the sounds shifted. The clock seemed to tick louder, mocking him as if it were counting down to something. A cold sweat enveloped him as he approached the attic door, the door he hadn't dared to open since she disappeared. The wind howled outside, like a wolf howling for its lost prey, and his breath caught in his throat. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that is happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. He took a deep breath, trembling hands reaching for the handle. What awaited him inside? Dust and old memories. Or perhaps the very essence of his lost little girl. He cringed, visions of the past flashing through his mind, endless searches, desperate pleas. And just as he twisted the door open, a chilling breeze swept past him, rustling the pages of forgotten books. Something had shifted. Could it be her? A light flickered beyond the darkness, and his heart raced. Was this finally a sign? Or just another cruel trick of fate? Samuel stood at the threshold, heart racing, every instinct screaming to turn back. Only one question remained. What kind of spectral force waited on the other side? What truths lay hidden, waiting to resurface as he dared step into the attic, the room that held his ultimate heartbreak? As the door creaked open, an unsettling chill slithered down Samuel's spine. The attic loomed before him in darkness, an abyss of forgotten memories and whispered secrets. Dust hung like a thick fog in the air, and the faint smell of mothballs drifted past, overwhelming his senses. He stepped inside, heart pounding relentlessly, eager yet terrified to uncover what lay within. The flickering light caught the edge of an old mirror, ornate and cracked, reflecting twisted shadows that danced eerily across the narrow space. Samuel moved closer, instinct driving him to touch it, to polish away the grime. But dread held him back. Could he bear to see anything in that glass? Would it be a reflection of the father he had become, hollow from grief? "Daddy!" The voice echoed again, this time lingering like a haunting melody. It resonated so deeply within him that he felt the sharp pang of loss flare anew. He caught himself glancing over his shoulder, expecting a glimpse of Emma's cherubic face, but the only thing present was the suffocating silence. No joyous giggles, just the deafening throb of his own heartbeat. He ventured deeper into the room, forcing his legs to move through the maze of cobwebs and forgotten furniture. Each step nudged open a new memory, a fresh wave of sorrow. There, old dolls with missing eyes sat motionless on a dust-laden shelf, their familiarity stinging like an open wound. In the far corner, a trunk beckoned him. The latch was tarnished, aged by the hands of time, and as he knelt to unclasp it, a whisper of wind swirled around him, a sudden rush of air, like the breath of a long-lost spirit, urging him to keep going. The lid creaked open as he yanked it free, revealing childhood wonders. Emma's drawings, scribbles of a world encased in honor and innocence. But among those tender sketches lay something more profound, a small leather-bound journal. Its cover was scratched and faded, Yet the golden letters of Emma's name sparkled like stars against the night. Samuel hesitated, mind calculating the implications of what he might find within. Would it be hope? Or the final closure that eluded him for so many years? He cracked it open, pages yellowed with age, and began to read. The words danced before his eyes, detailing dreams of attending ballet, of picnics under blossoming cherry trees, and the constant longing for her father to hold her hand through every imagined adventure. The love poured from each sentence, a reminder that he had once been her entire universe. Yet, as he flipped further, the tone shifted. I see things at night, shadowy figures in the garden. They whisper my name. Samuel's blood ran cold. Panic gripped him as he flipped through furiously, words tumbling like marbles spilling from a jar. With growing dread, he came upon a final entry, ink smudged, as if written in haste. They want something from me. Something I can't give. His breath caught. What did these figures want? Suddenly, without warning, the attic window shattered, a gust of wind enveloping him, carrying muffled laughter within its tempest. He staggered back, heart racing as the echoes of his past twisted and twirled like a sinister waltz around him. Samuel, help me! A desperate cry drifted through the chaos. His mind raced, the walls of the attic closing in as he faced the unknown. In that moment, Samuel knew he was on the verge of uncovering something dark and unspeakable. But would he have the courage to confront it? Outside, the wind howled, and the trees swayed violently, almost like they were connected to the mysteries stirring within the walls of the mansion. With trembling hands clutching the journal and a heart caught between despair and determination, he pushed further into the towering shadows. What was waiting in the depths of the darkness? What presence lingered? And how was it tied to his daughter? As Samuel braced for the answers, a bone-chilling laugh echoed behind him, sweet yet terrifying, definitely from a child. And he couldn't help but wonder, was it Emma? Or something far more sinister? The laughter sent a jolt through Samuel, freezing him in place. He turned, scanning the room for the source, every fiber of his being screaming to flee. But the journal clutched in his hand felt like a lifeline, heavy and electric. The laughter continued, echoing like chimes on a frigid wind. Only this time, it blended with soft whispers that wound through the attic like smoke. Daddy, the voice was softer now, more a trickle of sound than a call. It wove around him, taunting and sweet, pulling him closer to the edge of insanity. He desperately wished to discern where that familiar tone ended and the sinister echo began. With the heightened sense of dread coursing through his veins, he closed the journal, swallowing hard. Perhaps he was too immersed in the past. Perhaps it was that nostalgia blurring his sense of reality. But there was no ignoring the connection. The shadowy figures Emma had written about, the rattling laughter, everything felt achingly tangible, as if the very essence of her spirit lingered just out of reach. Suddenly, a cold draft nipped at Samuel's neck, a rush of air so unsettling he felt it scrape against his skin like icy fingers. Adrenaline kicked in, and he stumbled back toward the trunk. He needed answers, and the answers lay within those cursed pages. Leave this place, Samuel. A harsh voice thundered from the corner, grating against his eardrums. Heart racing, he spun around. The room pulsed with a haunting light. The very shadows he had been tiptoeing around were now writhing and undulating closer. Each pulse radiated with an otherworldly energy. Who are you? He asked, voice shaky and questioning. What do you want from me? The laughter faded, morphing into a low, guttural chuckle that vibrated through the attic beams. She should have listened there, restless, waiting. Waiting for what? Samuel's breath hitched, the tension wrapping around him like a vice. What do you want with Emma? Your love, your grief, it feeds them. The voice split the air like thunder, and he felt the ground beneath him tremble. Before he could process the words, the lights flickered, and suddenly, the dolls on the shelf came to life in his mind as Emma's forgotten playmates. Laughter, joyful at first, twisted into a pitch of terror, an unsettling cacophony that clawed at his sanity. Samuel shook his head, trying to escape the sound, but it clung to him, gnawing at his resolve. He couldn't forget Emma, couldn't abandon her, just because those shadows fed on the whispers of despair. I'm here for Emma, he shouted, assertively, desperately pleading against the unseen forces pressing in. Whatever you are, I want to let you take her from me. The laughter twisted, morphed into echoes of children playing, then faded away completely, leaving a spiritual silence that filled his ears like an empty shell. With a newfound clarity, Samuel realized he was not just confronting shadows. He was confronting himself, his fears, his guilt, the ultimate horror of failing Emma. As the dust settled, it gathered in a small vortex at the foot of the trunk, swirling violently, and cloaked in shadows, a figure began to form. It pulled closer, inching toward him like the creeping dawn. Samuel's heartbeat thrummed heavily in his chest, his instincts screaming to retreat. Yet there was a steely determination igniting within him, urging him to take a stand. Samuel stepped forward, refusing to back down. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me." The energy crackled between them, vibrating the very fabric of his being as he faced the looming presence, eyes sharp and intent. It was time to expose the truth hidden in the darkness. Who were these figures, and how deeply were they intertwined with Emma's fate? In that vital heartbeat of confrontation, a final chilling whisper cascaded through the room, promising revelations as the form coalesced. The question lingered heavy in the attic air. Was he ready to uncover the truth, or would it consume him whole? The shadows shifted. A new chapter was about to begin, one entwined with revelations he had never dared to fathom. The silhouette took shape, growing distinct against the swirling dust. Samuel's breath caught in his throat as he squinted, straining to see through the haze. The figure emerged, not as a grotesque apparition, but a young girl. Her eyes shone, bright and hollow, a mirror of sorrow that pierced his heart. She wore the remnants of an old dress, tattered at the hem, and her hair danced around her face like wisps of fog. "Emma," he gasped, the name a prayer, a plea woven with despair. "Daddy," she echoed, but the voice was hollow, devoid of warmth. "You didn't come for me." His resolve faltered, a tremor of panic rushing through him. "I'm here now. I'm trying to understand. Please, help me." But the energy in the room shifted violently. The shadows around them writhed and pulsed, taking on sinister forms, faces warped in agony, lost children crying out for release. Samuel instinctively took a step back, but the vulnerability in Emma's eyes held him captive. "No," he shouted, clenching the journal tighter, as if it could shield him from the darkness creeping closer. "Love isn't enough, you need to let go." Emma's voice morphed, tinged with an echo that was no longer hers. "They want you to suffer, Daddy. They feed on your pain." A lump formed in his throat, suffocating him. He couldn't let this happen. He wouldn't. "I won't lose you again," he yelled, desperation marking every syllable, shaking the very fibers of his being. "Then find the truth," Emma cried out, her figure flickering like a flame in the wind. "It's hidden in the pages. It will set us free." What truth? His thoughts spiraled as the whispers around him coalesced, growing louder, drowning out reason. "No, no, you can't leave me." The shadows surged, anger swirling with rage thick and suffocating. Samuel's heart raced. He could feel the room constricting around him like a vice. He had challenged whatever dwelled here, and now it was fighting back. Then darkness enveloped them, swallowing the light and suffocating reason. Faces from the shadowy depths surrounded him, their mouths moving but sound tearing through the air like shrapnel. He staggered, a storm brewing inside him, an amalgamation of fear and boundless love. "Find the ring," a whisper taunted, deep and menacing. "Find the ring," echoed again and again, clawing at his thoughts. He grasped for that fragment of memory, a flicker of an old, gold band he had buried deep within his mind. The very ring Emma had worn on that fateful day. In a burst of clarity amidst chaos, realization struck. The ring held more than his memories. It held the keys to this nightmare. "Emma," he whispered, fighting through the haze, "where is it?" But instead of a response, silence overcame him, drowning in the crescendo of swirling shadows, the darkness sharper now, suspicion crackling in the musty air. Suddenly, an icy hand gripped his wrist tight. He screamed, feeling the cold seep into his bones and shatter his thoughts. That familiar, childlike giggle morphed into a guttural laugh that trembled through the walls. Find it. Find it before it's too late." His heart raced anew. The chase for the ring, the key to Emma's freedom and closure, had begun. But how far would he need to dive into this abyss to retrieve it? The attic was now a swirling vortex of emotions, and he felt every ounce of despair weighing heavy on him. The sound of shadows echoed around him, taunting him mercilessly. Would he unveil the secrets hidden in the darkness, or would they consume him entirely? Samuel's hand trembled in determination as he prepared to plunge deeper, the truth beckoning him like a sinister whisper from the grave. But would he emerge whole or utterly shattered? Samuel's eyes darted around the attic, desperately searching for any sign of the ring. Dust motes danced in the faint slivers of light filtering through the grimy window, shadows lurking like predatory specters in the corners. The little girl's giggle echoed, sending a shiver rippling down his spine, her eerie laughter mixing with the tortured whispers of the lost souls surrounding him. He could feel the pressure of the darkness encroaching, bearing down on him like a heavy shroud. "Emma," he shouted, the name a desperate plea. "What do I need to do?" But her ghostly form was fading, the light in her eyes extinguishing like a candle in the wind. "You must make them listen. You must make them pay." Her words twisted and turned, becoming entangled with the shadows. Samuel squeezed the journal, feeling the rough texture of the pages beneath his fingertips. There had to be something in there, something buried within the remnants of his past that could guide him forward, something that could set both him and his daughter free. He flipped through the fraying pages, each letter blurring as the oppressive gloom closed in. "Find it! Find it!" The voices screeched, a cacophony of urgency and anguish. He had no choice but to delve deeper into the journal, the musty smell of old paper wafting up like a funeral shroud. Then he stumbled upon an entry that caught his breath. A sketch, crude but unmistakable. A figure in a dress, similar to the one Emma wore, clutching a ring. The date scrawled beneath it, one that twisted his stomach. The day of the accident. "No," he murmured, realizing the ring had been placed in the same box as her dress when they had buried her. "Where's the box?" he croaked, panic seeping into his voice. Why didn't I remember? A force gripped him again, lighter this time, whispering secrets from beyond, navigating through the memories that had long been buried in grief. "The attic, Daddy." The attic. Emma's voice lingered in the air, gentle yet insistent. With sudden determination, Samuel pushed past the haunting specters, flinging himself toward the far wall where old trunks lay gathering dust. He rummaged through them feverishly, memories mingling with the palpable fear clawing at his chest. Each piece of fabric he uncovered brought him closer to a time long forgotten, a time filled with laughter and innocence now tainted by sorrow. At last, he found the trunk, its lock rusted and weary. With trembling hands, he pried it open, the hinges creaking in protest. Inside lay the remnants of his daughter's childhood, a faded dress, a worn teddy bear, and there it was, the ring, glinting like a lost star amid the darkness. Samuel's heart swelled, the sight of the ring filling him with a strange mix of elation and dread. But before he could reach for it, the shadows thickened, swirling violently, as if alive. "No, you want to take her from me again," he shouted, the anguished cry erupting from deep within his soul. As he grasped the ring, an overwhelming surge of energy pulsed through him, the walls around him vibrating with an unearthly chant. "Render the truth," the shadows wailed. "Only then will you know peace." In that instant, Samuel understood. The ring was not just a token of his love. It was a tether to Emma's spirit, her very essence woven into the metal. But if he wanted to break the cycle of torment, he would have to confront the very forces that clung to them, unwilling to let go. The air crackled with tension, and Samuel knew he stood on the precipice of a dark revelation. What unspeakable truths would unfold when he realized the weight of his choices and the horrors they held? As the shadows leaned closer, Samuel braced himself for the confrontation. The past had come alive in these walls, and he was about to unearth everything he had tried to bury. Would he finally reclaim his daughter, or would he lose himself in the chaos? Samuel felt it before he saw it. A cold breath snaked along his neck, sending his heart racing. The shadows spun faster now, forming a dark vortex around him, drumming the walls with a gathering storm of fear. The air grew stale, heavy with malevolence, as the whispers rose to a fever pitch. "Make them listen, make them pay," the taunts echoed, intertwining with Emma's laughter. Each word was a dagger, digging mercilessly into his mind. They craved vengeance, those lost souls, and they weren't about to let him slip away unscathed. With the ring clutched tightly in his hand, Samuel surged with determination. He thought of Emma, of her little face, bright with laughter and boundless love. "I will not let you take her from me again." The words lashed out, defiance carved into every syllable. Unearthly howls filled the attic, a battalion of tormented spirits ready to strip him of hope as they clawed for his attention. The journal lay discarded beside the trunk, its pages rustling like excited whispers. What secrets were hidden within those pages? He needed to know. He needed answers. "Show me," he screamed, fury igniting his voice. The shadows thickened around him, a tangible darkness that threatened to swallow him whole. "Accept the past," they shrieked back, voices jumbling together in a nightmarish symphony. "You cannot escape what you've done." Samuel's eyes darted back to the journal. It had to hold the key. He dove for it, fingers skimming over the dust-covered pages, searching for answers like a man on fire. With a frantic flick, he opened to the sketch, heart slamming against his ribcage. The figure had been drawn with such haunting detail, and it looked so alive. "Tell me the truth," he yelled, forcing his breath, feeling the weight of every accusation pressing against his chest. Suddenly, a blinding light flared around him, illuminating the attic. Shadows shrieked, recoiling from the brightness like roaches scattering from a turned-on light. Samuel felt a rush of warmth, and then silence. He looked around wildly, the shadows dissipating momentarily. Then he saw it. Across the room, emerging from the swirling remnants of darkness, stood a figure, a woman, shrouded in light. She glimmered softly, almost ethereal, yet Samuel recognized her instantly. It was Margaret, Emma's mother. "What?" He staggered, his words caught in his throat. "We were wrong." Margaret's voice was a melodic whisper, tinged with regret. "We tried to sever the ties of fate, and instead we became ensnared. You must understand the price of your desire, Samuel." His heart pounded as he noticed Jane's eyes, wide with a blend of sorrow and understanding. "I was the reason," he whispered, the realization slamming into him like a freight train. "I should have protected her." The shadows began to gather again, creeping back into the corners of the room, ready to entrap him once more. He had to break this vicious cycle. "What do I do?" The plea escaped his lips, laced with desperation. "How can I set us free?" Margaret stepped forward, and the light brightened. "You must confront the truth of that day, Samuel." She extended a hand, a spectral invitation. "Only then will you have a chance to save Emma once and for all." But her words hung like an anchor in the air, heavy and foreboding. Just then, the shadows surged, roaring with renewed anger. "No, you can't let her in," they wailed in agony. "The past holds the keys, and it won't let you go." With uncertainty gnawing at him, Samuel took a trembling step forward. Every fiber of his being trembled with doubt. Would he risk wandering deeper into darkness to seek forgiveness? What awaited him on the other side could tear apart everything he thought he knew. As the shadows fluttered and roared around them, he realized a grim truth. Facing his fears might just lead him to losing everything he held dear once again. Would he dare cross that threshold, or would he be consumed in the chaos of his own making? The light from Margaret's outstretched hand pulsed softly, casting an otherworldly glow that pushed back the encroaching shadows just enough for Samuel to breathe. But doubt clawed at him. He felt torn between the spectral promise of hope and the dread that lingered with every whisper of the furious shadows. "You were my last chance," he murmured to Margaret, seconds ticking by like they were hours. "Tell me the truth, then." He stepped closer, trembling but resolute, feeling the warmth of the light wash over him. It felt protective, almost alive, while the shadows howled in protest, coiling tighter around his legs, trying to drag him into their suffocating embrace. "Samuel," Margaret's voice was both a warning and a comfort. "Remember the day everything changed. The choices you made, the consequences." Images began to flood his mind, fragments of a past he wanted to forget. The accident, the screaming, the gaping hole in his heart that had never fully healed. Emma's laughter faded into memory, replaced by desperate cries for a father. "I never wanted any of it," he choked out. Margaret shook her head. "But you wanted something. You paid a price for your wishes now." The shadows roared with indignation, gusts of icy wind swirling around him. "You cannot change what has done." They swelled, threatening to crush him beneath their weight. Samuel felt a rising panic. "Let me in," he pleaded, eyes locked with Margaret S. "I can face it. I can confront my failure." Margaret S. face was a mix of sadness and encouragement. "You have to trust in the power of truth. It can liberate you or shatter you, but it's your only hope." Before he could reply, the shadows lunged forward, clawing at the edges of his sanity with sharpened fingers. Samuel gasped as memories warped around him, their last moments together, her tiny hands slipping away, the final shriek echoing in his mind like a haunting melody. His heart raced harder, pounding against the walls of his chest, desperate to find a way out. "Help me," he screamed as he felt the shadows closing in, cold fingers wrapping around his throat, squeezing tightly. He could see the faces of those he'd wronged, twisted in agony. "I have to make it right. I have to save her." Then, amidst the chaos, a flicker of strength ignited inside him. He remembered Emma's smile, the warmth of her hugs. With every ounce of his being, he summoned the memory of love, a beacon through the dark. As he released it, the shadows recoiled, their grip loosening. "I'll face it," he shouted defiantly, drawing courage from deep within. The journal lay there, almost vibrating with energy, promising secrets long buried. He lunged for it, arms outstretched, pushing through the swirling darkness. In an instant, the shadows fell back, swirling in confusion as Samuel gripped the journal tightly. The pages flipped wildly, revealing faded words and frantic sketches. His breath caught. A name leapt out at him: Emma. Details of that fateful day splashed across the pages in furious strokes. The truth stirred like a beast awakening from slumber. "Information is power," Margaret murmured, stepping closer, her form shimmering with anticipation. "What happens next is up to you." Samuel's heart raced with realization. The truth held the power to save her or consume him entirely. He took a deep, steadying breath, steadying his heartbeat, fighting against the shadows that lurked just at the edges of his vision. He could feel the essence of his past pouring through him, mingling with the hope in his heart. "Show me," he commanded the journal, determination slicing through the turmoil. The shadows howled in fury, desperate to drown him in despair. Would this knowledge set him free, or trap him in an even darker web of his own creating? As he began to read, the swirling chaos around him intensified. The weight of the past pressed against him, ready to unleash a torrent of revelations or ruin everything once more. The journal jerked in his hands, its pages fluttering like the wings of trapped birds. Samuel's gaze sharpened as he read the frantic scrawls, fighting through fear-stricken resentment echoing around him. The words blurred at first, swimming before his wide eyes. The notes, full of frantic urgency, seemed to bleed from the very page into his soul. Fate's grasp is tight. The words jolted him like a pin pricking skin. Every action has consequences. He fought against the tightening shadow that clawed at his throat. Just as he was about to turn the page, a shriek pierced the air, reverberating through him like a shuddering echo of his own despair. It wasn't he, just the shadows that cried. It felt like the voice of his past, lost and tortured. "Samuel! Samuel!" A voice floated within the whirlwind, shrill and desperate. It was Emma. The thought sent a shock through his veins. The shadows hissed, contorting in rage as if knowing he had wandered too close to the truth. Instinctively, Samuel thrust the journal toward Margaret. "Help me. She is still out there." The journal glowed, illuminating her face. There was wisdom and sorrow intertwined in her gaze. With a trembling hand, she brushed a finger over the page, causing the text to shift, and Samuel felt as though the air had thickened, like a fog creeping into his lungs. "Listen, Samuel," Margaret said, her voice low and soothing. "There is something buried deep in your choices. If you seek the truth, you must embrace your pain." The shadows writhed furiously like ravenous dogs, twisting seamlessly about him, biting and gnashing, yet a flicker of strength ignited anew. "I'll confront them. I'll face them all," he roared defiantly. The journal felt heavier and heavier, but the determination within him burned bright, a small flame that dared challenge the entire darkness. With each word he read, visions surged. An image of a red stop sign, standing out like a beacon, then the scream of tires on asphalt. His heart raced as the memory dragged him down. "The moment I could stopped," he realized, horrified. The light surrounding them flickered as he recalled every agonizing detail leading to that dreadful day. Each fragment was a knife, carving deeper into his conscience. Yet he pushed on. What if I had acted differently? Suddenly, a vision exploded. A face appeared before him. A girl with bright hair and twinkling eyes. Her innocent laughter still echoed within chambers of his heart. Emma, I lost you, he whispered shakily, feeling both love and anguish collide in his chest. The shadows howled louder, pushing against the warmth of Margaret's light. You can't unleash the past, Samuel. It will undo you. They hissed, despairing. No, he gasped, a surge of righteous fury swelling in him. I must break free. I will save her. Before he could lose himself again, he gripped the journal harder, turning its pages faster. The frantic scribbles morphed into clearer insights. If he could just piece together the truth, perhaps he could reach Emma, reach her in his dreams or beyond. Samuel, Margaret warned, her expression tightening. Are you ready for what you may uncover? He locked eyes with her, determination tempered by the fear of what lay ahead. I will do whatever it takes. I have to know. But as he concluded that thought, the air felt suddenly static. The shadows seemed to halt, surrendering momentarily to the tension brewing in the light. A chill swept through him, as though whispering secrets only he could hear. It's here, he whispered, feeling the pulse of something threatening to surface, something that could open the doorway to a foggy past or seal his fate forever. What was waiting for him on the other side of this truth? With anxiety pounding in his chest, he steeled himself for revelations that might shatter his already fractured soul. As he read on, hoping for redemption, he braced for the darkness to storm back in a cascade of horror. The journal's pages turned like whispers sliding through his fingers. Each flick brought an unsettling clarity, a pulse of dread laced with anticipation. Samuel's heart raced as he stumbled upon a passage illuminated in glowing ink, the jagged letters carving the air around him. Only through the storm can the past be reclaimed. Every regret, every choice, forms the web of fate. The shadows around him recoiled, their tendrils twisting away from the shimmering light of the journal. It felt as if they knew he was onto something real, something that could shatter the cycle of torment. He sighed, feeling the weight of his life in that moment, the relentless burden pressing on his shoulders. Samuel Margaret's voice broke through the haze, its urgency cutting through the looming darkness. Focus. You must confront what you've buried. He nodded, though the tremor in his hands betrayed his resolve. Swallowing back the knot in his throat, he turned to the next page, and images flashed with violent clarity, twists of fate, choices leading to despair. His breath quickened as he saw the accident again. The red stop sign, the blaring horn, and then silence. Emma, he gasped, clutching the journal closer, desperate to drown out the anguished memory. The more he grasped the book, the stronger the visions became, each one an echo of a choice unmade. Through the fog of guilt, he glimpsed a figure, no older than a child, standing by a tree. Her hair danced with the wind, bright and shining like the sun breaking through storm clouds. She looked at him with wide, hopeful eyes that twisted the knife deeper into his heart. The girl's resemblance to Emma sent a jolt through him, a flash of recognition and despair. Who are you? He croaked, his voice breaking, caught between dreams and shadows. Your choice brought me here. The girl's voice rang clear, sweet yet haunting. You can turn back time, Samuel. You must. As her words hung in the air, Margaret took a cautious step closer. Don't listen to her. She's a manifestation of your guilt. You're being lured. No. A tidal wave of urgency crashed over him. If she's right, if there's a way to save Emma, the shadows surged, swirling around him with renewed ferocity. They shrieked and howled, trying to reclaim him, but Samuel stood firm, anchored by the vision of that little girl. What do I do? He shouted into the chaos, feeling the world tilt on its axis. Rewrite your fate, she urged, outstretching her tiny hand. Relive the moment. Change the outcome. You can do it, Samuel. Don't be afraid. A surge of energy jolted through him, igniting a spark. He could rewrite the past? Could he really save Emma? Heart pounding, he closed his eyes, envisioning that fateful day, his breath misting in the chill of the night air, the sky dark and heavy with clouds. I will do it, he murmured, feeling the shadows recoiling in fear. I will save her. In that moment, as panic and exhilaration flooded his chest, he understood the consequence that had followed him all these years. Each choice had gravitated toward this point, a catastrophic collision that he could now unravel. But a voice, deep and menacing, cut through the haze. If you attempt to change the past, Samuel, you might unleash horrors far worse than you imagine. Samuel froze, an icy grip wrapping around his heart, threatening to pull him back into despair. What is worse than losing her? He whispered, fear slithering beneath his skin. The shadows congregated, their eyes glimmering. Could the truth he sought truly be reversed, or would it consume him whole? Clutching the journal tightly, he steeled himself for whatever awaited him in the depths of that memory. The battle between light and shadow raged. The truth trembled on the edge of a knife, and the stakes had never been higher. With determination surging through his veins, he prepared to dive deeper into the darkness. But could he survive the journey? Would confronting his past bring the redemption he so desperately sought, or would it unleash a nightmare he wasn't ready to face? The shadows swirled around Samuel, a potent mix of fear and resolve binding him to the moment. He clenched the journal, the remnants of his daughter's laughter echoing through his mind like a siren's call. I will rewrite the past, he declared, his voice shaking yet firm. A gust of wind whipped through the attic, carrying whispers of dissent, but he stood his ground. The air thickened, crackling with anticipation as he reached deep into the well of memory. He envisioned the narrow streets, the vibrant autumn leaves, and the fateful red stop sign blocking his path. A flash of horror transgressed through him. How had he let that moment slip through his fingers? Emma, he cried, as if summoning her spirit from the depths of time. The attic melted away, and he felt himself drawn backward into that haunted day, where he could alter the choices that had haunted him for years. I can't fail you again. The scene warped around him. He stood as a younger man, gripping the steering wheel tightly, the weight of the world pressing against him. A sensation of desperation swept through him, a reminder of the chaos in the aftermath, the screams, the guilt that transformed laughter into ghostly echoes. As the moment emerged, he knew what he needed to do. The clang of the stop sign reverberated in his ears, a heartbeat born from fate. I'll stop this, he vowed, memories swirling like leaves in a tempest. The horror of the impending moment tightened like a noose around his throat. He raced toward that instant, the moment he had hesitated to slow down, the moment that had cost him everything. As he approached the intersection, the shadows loomed, desperate to hold him back. You'll lose everything, they screamed, fury and fear blending into one. No, he gritted his teeth. I will not be held captive by my past any longer. With that, he slammed his foot down on the brake, feeling the jolt of the vehicle shudder beneath him. Time creaked like a rusted hinge, the world stretching and warping. He saw Emma's face, a bright reflection of innocence and joy, beaming at him from the back seat. Daddy, faster, she'd yelled, laughter spilling from her lips. And in that moment, he felt a surge of warmth, a bond thrumming between them that nothing could sever. The car halted barely inches from disaster. Silence engulfed him, a thick blanket of warmth replacing the icy grip of despair. Emma's laughter rang out again, untouched and pure, sweeping away shadows of regret. Samuel's heart soared, hope blooming within the fray of chaos. I saved you, he gasped, and in this new reality, he could see the glint of the ring upon her finger, shining brightly in the sunlight. But then, an inexplicable chill slithered through the air. Shadows clawed back, twisting and turning around him, their intent shifting from silent fear to vengeful anger. You cannot escape us, they screeched, voices overlapping in a cacophony of terror. Get away, he roared, now a father reborn, determined to protect the essence of his child from the hostile tide. He reached for her, fingers brushing against the air, yet she stood before him, untouched as Emma, whole and radiant. Daddy, she beamed, joy radiating from her as she clutched her ring. You came back for me. I always will, my love, he pressed, emotions surging like a tidal wave. I wouldn't let anything take you from me again. The shadows writhed, sensing their hold weakening, gasping as if fearing the tide was turning against them. You don't understand. The past is a chain, they hollered, desperation filling the cold air. Once rewritten, It comes back to take its toll. But Samuel didn't falter. No more chains. No more pain. He held Emma tight, the connection between them pulsating with radiant love. The shadows convulsed, shrieking as he embraced the truth of his choices and released the burden of guilt. And then the room exploded into light. Samuel blinked, standing once more in the attic, yet everything felt renewed, lighter. The echoes of the past faded, washed away in the cleansing light. Emma stood beside him, her laughter ringing with purity, her ring glinting in the sun that streamed through the attic window. "Daddy, you did it," she exclaimed, eyes bright and alive. Tears filled his eyes, the heartache of years gone replaced by a love that felt unbreakable, unyielding. The darkness that had haunted him melted away, leaving only traces, faint whispers of what had been. "I love you, Emma," he choked out, pulling her close, savoring every heartbeat of this moment. They had reclaimed the memories that had nearly torn them apart. "What about the shadows?" she asked, tilting her head. "They're gone," he breathed, warmth flooding through him. "We've rewritten our story." And as dawn spilled over the horizon, illuminating their sanctuary, Samuel felt a lightness in his heart that had long been absent. Together, they would carry their love forward, unburdened by the past, ready to face whatever the future had in store. With a soft sigh, Samuel held her hand tightly, laughter mixing with the sun's first rays. The mansion had transformed, a reminder that in confronting darkness, love could ignite the purest light. Now, this is the moment to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you never miss another exclusive story. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help our community grow. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. What did you think? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us light up the comments and keep the conversation going.